August 18th, let's go to Kutcher's Country Club in New York to watch Floyd Patterson prepare for his title defense against challenger Roy Harris. Chris Schenkel's on hand to talk with Patterson's manager, Cus D'Amato. So take over, Chris.
Well, Cus, you have very definite ideas about Floyd Patterson and what he will do. You've made many definite moves. Is there a purpose behind all this?
Oh, yes. I've had a purpose behind everything I've done. I've had a definite plan which I've followed in spite of all events. Every effort to prevent these plans from materializing.
And, Cus, regardless of what people say, you still follow that formula?
Absolutely.
Do you plan to continue that formula?
Without a question of doubt.
Now, speaking of future plans, which is not the smartest thing to do, of course, because you have a fight coming up August 18th in Los Angeles, and it'll be seen on teleprompter, closed-circuit television. Do you think there is a probability of a Sugar Ray Robinson-Floyd Patterson fight in the future?
Well, I've been approached about such a match, but I feel I have one attitude toward this match. If Ray Robinson is considering committing suicide, I don't want him to use Floyd Patterson as the vehicle. That's the way I feel about it.
In other words, you think for Floyd it might be somewhat of a pushover?
Well, to pull it mildly.
Do you have any one comment you can make about the contender, Roy Harris?
Well, I think Lou Viscusi, who promoted most of his fights, gave the most accurate statement about him. He said, no one has ever extended Floyd Patterson since he's fighting, and no one has ever extended Roy Harris since he's fighting. When these two fighters meet, he feels the winner of this fight will be accepted as a really great fighter and a great champion. And
perhaps the greatest fighter in the ring today, right, Cus?
That is my belief. I have believed that for a long time.
Thank you very much, Cus D'Amato.
Thank you, Chris.
Patterson begins with a brisk workout on the light bag. Patterson shows the punch that stopped 24 of his 34 opponents. Anyone for Mambo lessons? Floyd gives his interpretation as he shadow boxes preparatory to sparring. The champ demonstrates for our cameras the same lethal power punches that carried him to the top of the fistic world. Trainer Dan Florio divulges some expert advice as he laces Patterson's gloves. Dan's experience, accumulated over many years in the fight game, has helped several aspiring pugilists. Former light heavyweight champion Tommy Loughran is an interested spectator as he watches Patterson go through his paces. In the striped trunks, the 23-year-old champion belabors his sparring partner as he steps up the tempo in preparation for his August 18th date with cut-and-shooter Roy Harris. Ringsiders watch closely as Floyd winds up the sparring session. And now, let's go back to Chris Schenkel, who's waiting to ask the champ a few interesting questions.
Floyd, in televising about 15 of your fights in the past and then having seen your other bouts, today you look tremendously strong, in fact, stronger.
Well, I'm getting older, and I'm hitting that age now where you might call it a peak, when I'm supposed to be as strong as ever.
How old are you now, Floyd?
23.
23.
Yeah.
We can recall the days when you were so young that they wouldn't let you go beyond 8 rounds, remember?
Yeah, but that was years ago. It's over with now.
Do you think, Floyd, this long layoff has had a bad effect on you?
Well, had I not been in training all along, I think so. But the fact that I had been training steadily after the fight, which was about a year ago, my last fight, I don't think, if any, it had no effect at all.
Floyd, do you personally feel now that you are a better fighter than you were against Archie Moore when you won the title?
Well, each fight that I go into, whether I'm better or whether I look better, I'm going to try to be better regardless.
Have you ever been in Texas, Floyd?
Yes. I've been in Texas once, about 8 months ago. I'm trying to think of the name of the town that I was in.
Houston?
Houston, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you must have met then Roy Harris, the contender.
Yes, I did meet him there, but I've never saw him in action before.
Do you feel, though, from what you've heard, that he is tougher than Pete Rademacher?
I think so. Each fight I'm going to look at tougher than the fight before, regardless of how I win the fight.
Floyd, in training for this bout with Roy Harris, which will be August 18th in Los Angeles, closed-circuit television by teleprompter, do you plan or train for 15 rounds?
I plan and train for 15 rounds, and in each and every fight I expect to go the distance. But like I always say, if the opportunity presents itself whereas I can knock the opponent out, I'm going to take full advantage of it.
I think we've taken a little over advantage of you, Floyd, because you're perspiring and you better get in before you catch a cold, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Floyd Patterson, ladies and gentlemen, the heavyweight champion of the world.